In today's class, we are going to see mechanical properties of solid. So now your matter is usually divided into three states, that is solid, liquid and gas. Now for this matter that you take, there will be general properties and specific properties. Okay, so usually you will have general properties and specific properties. General properties in the sense, okay, whether this matter is in solid state, liquid state or the gaseous state, usually that particular property will be same. Okay, same or almost slight variation. Okay, so general properties for all these states, okay, almost same will be there. Okay, color example, color could be same. Okay, and specific properties, if you talk, in solid the material will behave differently, in liquid your material will behave differently, in gas the material will behave differently. Okay, so general properties are different from specific properties. Okay, and for general properties, okay, you will have whether it is solid state, liquid state or gaseous state, there is no much significance or there is not much difference. But when you are considering the specific properties, your specific properties are dependent on the state. In solid state it will be different, in liquid state it will be different, in gaseous state it will be different. Okay, so for example, in solid state most of the materials will behave or they will show what is known as your elasticity. Okay, solid materials they will show elasticity. Okay, so elasticity is nothing but, for now I want you to understand, it is the property of regaining the original shape when you are applying or when you are subjecting the material to some external force. Okay, right. Next, for liquids there is other properties. I mean, for liquids also we will define specific properties. For example, you talk of capillarity, surface tension, viscosity, such kind of stuff. Okay, surface tension, then viscosity, capillarity. Okay, surface tension will ultimately bring capillarity. And for gases also there will be different properties like viscosity and then pressure. Okay, now your properties of solids we are doing separately, and this part, okay, in fluid mechanics we talk of the chapter called fluid mechanics. In fluid mechanics what happens, you will do Bernoulli's equation. First we will do hydrostatics, then fluid dynamics. After that we will talk of mechanical properties of fluids. In mechanical properties of fluids we will have surface tension, viscosity, capillarity. Okay, so this is separate. Actually it is also mechanical property of, this part is for fluids. Okay, this part is for fluids and we will discuss about this in detail in fluid mechanics. Okay, in solids part we will discuss in this chapter only the elasticity part. Okay, similarly for this gases, viscosity, pressure, density, everything, such kind of stuff we will discuss in kinetic theory of gases. Okay, more details here in KTG chapter. Kinetic theory of gases will discuss specific properties of gas. Okay, so I told you intrinsic, extrinsic properties will be there, and we have ideal gas characteristics, real gas equation and all, then kinetic interpretation of temperature, all such kind of stuff we will deal in KTG. Now that is kinetic theory of gases, and in chemistry you will be more specific in gaseous state, you will study that. Okay, diffusion and all those extra terms you will learn it there. Now here if you are considering this scenario, okay, if you have your liquid, this liquid will have surface tension, viscosity, capillarity, this part in fluid mechanics. In mechanical properties of solids, we are going to study elasticity only in detail. Okay, so today's topic is only the elasticity part, that's all. Okay, now, okay, this is your general classification. Okay, so general properties are different, specific properties are different. For specific properties, for particular solid, we are going to study elasticity. Okay, right? Now, hope you have understood this, you have copied it down. Now, what is elasticity is what we are supposed to understand. Now, in real life, okay, if you take different objects, for example, if you take a thread, okay, if you stretch the thread very forcibly, okay, there are different possibilities. Certain type of threads will elongate, certain type of threads they will break. Okay, if you take similarly rubber band, that rubber band also what it will do is, when you are stretching it, it will extend. When you release, then it will regain its shape. Okay, so from these examples, okay, what I want you to understand is, in nature we have different materials. Okay, certain materials will elongate when you are applying some external force. Okay, when we are applying some external force, certain materials will elongate. Certain materials, okay, after elongation, if you release them, they will regain their shape. Certain materials will not regain shape. Certain materials will not extend at all. They will not change their length at all. So, like that, we have materials which extend when you are applying some external force. Okay, and certain materials they will not extend at all. Certain materials they will extend to some extent, and beyond that they will break if you are extending them. Okay, like this, every material will have different properties. Okay, a simple rubber band, small length, if you take it and extend it, it will regain its shape after releasing. If you elongate too much, okay, if you release, it will regain their shape, but that rubber band will not have same length as the initial case. And if you are stretching it too much, okay, it will break. So different possibilities are there within a simple rubber band. Okay, so within that simple rubber band, this many situations are there. Okay, when which case will happen and all, we will get to know in this chapter. Okay, now to understand that kind of properties, we will define certain terms in this chapter which will be helpful to us in understanding why a material is breaking at this much force, why not some other material, and why a material is extending, why a material is not extending. All those properties we will get to know in this chapter. Okay, now, okay, for all this part, okay, okay, that is your materials that you have. Okay, for all these materials, okay, what will happen is, okay, this elastic property, okay, this elasticity is because of two possibilities. One is intermolecular forces, and other property is interatomic forces, intermolecular and interatomic forces. Okay, two possibilities are there for your materials. Okay, so one is intermolecular forces and other is interatomic forces. Okay, so intermolecular forces are different, interatomic forces are different. Interatomic force means force between atoms of similar molecules. Okay, it is indirectly force between atoms, and this is force between molecules. Okay, mostly molecules in the sense it will be dissimilar molecules. Atoms means similar atoms will be there usually. Okay, but there are two forces. Okay, our elasticity is because of intermolecular and interatomic forces depending upon the type of material. Okay, so every material will not be homogeneous or heterogeneous. We do not know, that depends upon the situation. Okay, so we cannot say, we can tell, but my point is materials will be either homogeneous or heterogeneous. Homogeneous means same, uniformity is there. Heterogeneous means they have some diversified structure. So when materials have this intermolecular and interatomic forces, what happens is, okay, we will have potential energy and force developed in the materials. Okay, we will have potential energy and force associated with this intermolecular and interatomic forces. Now every system will try to attain minimum potential energy, okay, and you will have stability. Okay, every system will try to attain minimum potential energy and you will have stability. And coming to the forces, you will have attractive or repulsive forces. Okay, getting my point? So normally your materials, okay, solid materials will exhibit elasticity. Okay, point number one. If there is elasticity, obviously we will have, okay, intermolecular and interatomic forces. Okay, why these forces come means, okay, the reasons are because of changing potential energy and force. Okay, every system will try to acquire minimum potential energy. Minimum potential energy will lead to stability. Okay, and your force will be either attractive or repulsive force. Like this, you will have your intermolecular and intramolecular forces. Okay, as well as interatomic forces as well as intermolecular forces. Okay, now your elasticity is because of this intermolecular and interatomic forces. Okay, right? So ultimate reason for elasticity is this. Okay, indirectly if there is force, obviously we need to talk of energy. Okay, right? Keep this point in mind. Now I will continue further. So now if you take this situation where in which you are considering this potential energy curve, okay, to understand this force better, we need to understand your potential energy curve. Okay, almost in all the chapters, okay, somewhere they will try to bring the link to this potential energy curve. So now we will see your potential energy curve in detail. Now normally your potential energy versus interatomic distance. Okay, what is this interatomic distance? I will tell you. Now normally if you take two atoms or two molecules, okay, if it is in solid state, okay, if it is in solid state and let us say they are at some equilibrium distance or not. Okay, now you have some material, inside that material there are some atoms, okay, and between two atoms or inside that material there are molecules. No issues, you either take atoms or molecules. Okay, whether it is intermolecular forces or intramolecular forces, the curve is same. Okay, do not worry about that. But usually in every system there will be, okay, some equilibrium distance between the molecules, especially for solids. Okay, this equilibrium distance is constant, it will not change much. Okay, that is why our solids have a fixed shape. Okay, fixed shape, definite volume. But when you take liquids and gases, those liquids and gases, they have vibrational kinetic energy more. For solids it is less, for gases it is very high. So that is why there is no specific intermolecular distance or intraatomic distance for gases, and for liquids there is slightly some disturbance, and whereas for solids almost this is fixed. Okay, so now every system that you take, okay, in its natural state, okay, in its natural state every system will have something called as equilibrium distance. Okay, what is this? equilibrium distance. Now what happens is, okay, ultimately when you have some equilibrium distance, okay, you supply some force, okay, you can do two things. Either you can stretch it, you can do elongation of these particles, or you can do compression of these particles, okay, you can do both, okay, on this material in a solid that you have, okay, there is some equilibrium distance R naught in the initial state. Now what is that you are doing is, you are subjecting some external force on this material, and you can either, I mean subjecting in the sense you can elongate it or you can compress it, okay, so you can do both. So elongation and compression both are possible on this material. Now when this is happening, okay, your potential energy versus equilibrium distance, if you are considering, and if you are trying to take your potential energy versus intermolecular or interatomic distance that you are taking, your potential energy curve will be somewhat like this, where in which here you have your R naught, okay, this is your R naught is what? Equilibrium distance, okay. Now here at this point your potential energy is positive. Potential energy is positive in the sense what will happen, okay, more potential energy means, okay, the system is less stable, okay, less stability will be there when there is more potential energy. Less potential energy will indicate, here potential energy is negative, this indicates what? Your system is, okay, stable, more stable here, okay, there it is negative, here it is positive. At this point you have your minimum potential energy. Minimum potential energy means more stability, okay, right. So this is your potential energy curve, okay. Now your potential energy expression, okay, will usually be in the form of U is equal to, okay, it is A by R power P minus B by R power Q, okay, for this intermolecular level or at the interatomic distance level, your potential energy function will be like this, okay, say it is like this, okay, usually it will be like this, okay. Once you plot the energy looking at this graph, we can actually set this kind of function. And this A and B constants we can change, P and Q constants we can change depending upon whether it is NaCl crystal or whatever crystals you take, depending upon the subjecting to the type of material that you have. Usually this is your generalized formula of potential energy. Now if you take force, okay, if you take force, F is minus dou u by dou r, okay, your force is derivative of potential energy, that will give you how much? Minus of A times d by d of r power p with respect to r minus b times d by d of r power minus q, sorry, with respect to r, okay, I am sending it to numerator, so that will give you AP times derivative of this is r power minus p1 means it will become r power p plus 1 plus b times q whole divided by r power q plus 1 and with a minus sign, okay. So minus of minus plus, once again you will have a minus here, like this you will have your intermolecular force expression if this is your potential energy. Now your force, okay, if it is positive, here two things are there, okay, positive force and negative force will be there. Negative, F value is negative means it will indicate attraction, and if F value is positive it will indicate repulsion, okay, right. So now like this you will have your force depending upon your energy, okay. Now this much I have explained, okay. I'll cut short and put it in two simple points. That is, you are applying some force on some body, you are disturbing the equilibrium system or equilibrium distance. Initially your molecule is at R naught, you have disturbed it. How you will do some work? You are changing the potential energy. Changing potential energy will develop force internally. Okay, this force that is developed, okay, will do two things. One is either repulsion or it is attraction. Okay, to cut short, you can assume this to be kind of spring. Every molecule will be at natural length of the spring is some equilibrium distance like this between the molecules. This is some m1 and m2. Now what happens when you are elongating it? What happens internally when you are applying this force F on both sides? What happens? It will elongate. Now your restoring force will develop this way. Okay, so internally I am talking of this force. Okay, so at this case it is attraction. Now in the same thing, if you are compressing, okay, instead of applying some force F to this molecule, every molecule is kind of spring, you are applying some compressive force like this. And in this case, if the natural this thing is R naught, okay, so if you are compressing it, what happens? You will have your restoring force developed backwards like this. So I am talking of this restoring force. Okay, our elasticity is caused because of this restoring force. Okay, not the applied force. Okay, so we are subjecting our system to some external force. When we are subjecting internally, some force develops. That intermolecular forces here that I have represented here are is actually what I am talking about. Okay, so every system, okay, when you are disturbing the potential energy of the system, it will try to compensate that potential energy by adjusting the position. Okay, so changing potential energy will cause force, that force will cause this elasticity. Okay, so conclusion, your elasticity is caused by, okay, intermolecular and intramolecular forces. That intermolecular and interatomic forces will cause this force. How it causes means by changing the energies. Okay, so this is your potential energy curve. Okay, so why molecules exhibit elasticity means this is the reason. Okay, now so far what all I have explained is just the introduction. Okay, right, now we will enter into the core chapter. Okay, so ultimate reason is this. Okay, so deforming forces are that internally developed forces. Depending upon the situation, they can be attractive or repulsive. Okay, right, now in this case, okay, from this we will start with our elasticity. Now your elasticity chapter is starting, the core part is starting from here, all the previous part is introduction. Okay, now your materials that you take, okay, when you subject it to some external force, when subjected to external force, okay, materials when subjected to external force, okay, external force in the sense, okay, somewhere we are subjecting it, we are doing it. Okay, when subjected to external force, internally what happens? Deforming force will develop. Okay, so now these materials will mainly, okay, certain materials will regain, do not regain their shape. Okay, certain materials don't regain their shape. Okay, and certain materials, okay, when subjected to external force and if you remove it, okay, they will regain their shape. Okay, and in between under some conditions, under certain situations, or under certain conditions, or depending upon the conditions, they will regain or they don't regain. Okay, this kind of materials that you have are called, okay, inelastic materials, perfectly inelastic materials, perfectly inelastic materials, or plastic materials, perfectly plastic materials. Okay, right? And these materials are called perfectly elastic materials. Okay, perfectly elastic materials. Okay, now for this example is quartz is not 100% elastic but close. Okay, close to perfectly elastic material. Okay, and for this they don't regain shape. Your mud is example of, okay, perfectly inelastic or plastic material, because mud, if you apply some force, what happens? It will break into parts. Will it regain its shape? No. Okay, and any other material, okay, this is like elastic material in the sense your elastic material is in between these two. Okay, your materials, certain materials like rubber band, they will regain their shape. Okay, rubber band comes to elastic material. Okay, they will regain their shape. Okay, usually there is nothing like 100% elastic material, there is nothing like 100% plastic material. Every material is in between. Okay, so you will have your materials like this. Okay, now for this kind of materials, what are these conditions? For this kind of materials, what are the conditions is what we are going to see. And for regaining their shape, it is impossible, they don't regain, so we don't study this much. Okay, now depending upon the conditions I told you, no, so rubber band, if you are applying too much force, it will break. Okay, so when it will come to this state, when the rubber band comes or behaves according to this, is what we are going to see in today's lecture. Okay, right, so that I will start. Okay, now I hope you have copied it down. So your materials, they are into these categories like this. Okay, right, now for every material, okay, so it's not like everything will regain shape. Rubber band, if you take rubber band itself, if you are taking, it will not regain its shape beyond some point, because if you see it, when you are stretching by small amount, it extends. But if you increase the force on the rubber band, what happens? It will try to break, or there will be some gap in the rubber band. Okay, so that gap coming point is actually kind of your elastic limit. Okay, so elastic limit is there, okay, for every material. Okay, so before elastic limit, what happens is every material regains shape. Okay, before the elastic limit, okay, that means your internally developed force should be less than this elastic limit point. If your elastic limit is not crossed, material regains shape. Okay, and if this is crossed, okay, you will have its after effect. Okay, when that is the case, I will tell you. Okay, for example, okay, if you are taking the case where, okay, let us say you are taking the rubber band itself. Okay, this rubber band, if you are taking, if you stretch it slightly, okay, you can take circular rubber band. What is there? I have mixed the figure. Now let us take a rubber band. I am cutting it and forming a straight line like this. Now let us say you are subjecting it to two forces like this, F on this side and F on this side. Now when you are elongating it, okay, when you start elongating this, what happens is when you apply when you are extending only to by some little amount on both sides, here you release, okay, at this point you release, regain shape. Okay, now when it comes to elastic limit, somewhere here let us say this is your elastic limit point. Now after this point, if you further increase, what happens is, okay, there will be a crack developing at this point somewhere and it starts breaking. Okay, this is kind of elastic limit. So beyond this increase in length, beyond this length you cannot extend it. Okay, so until this point it will regain shape. After this it will not regain the shape. Okay, so usually your materials will develop this kind of thing. Okay, right? So now this after effect elastic limit is crossed, you can say your material has reached permanent set. Okay, this you will study in civil engineering more. Okay, for beams and all you will study in detail, but this is permanent set, or you can say your material is overstrained. Okay, material gets overstrained if you cross the elastic limit. Okay, and here it is regaining the shape before elastic limit. But okay, there is something called as, okay, elastic fatigue here also. What is your elastic fatigue means? Okay, below, okay, what is this elastic fatigue means? Below the elastic limit, okay, below the elastic limit, what happens is our bodies will try to, I mean, even though we apply some force, what happens is bodies, okay, do not regain shape because of subjecting force for long time. Okay, certain materials will exhibit what is called as elastic fatigue. They don't regain shape. Okay, even though in certain situations where you are applying force less than this elastic limit, what happens is they don't regain, they don't regain their shape because of what is the property called as elastic fatigue. Okay, so when elastic fatigue is happening, according to this previous property that I have explained, even though it is less than this elastic limit, it should regain the shape. Whenever you are subjecting the force, your general logic is it should regain shape. But if there is elastic fatigue means you have applied for large amount of time, you have applied some force and you have brought some change in length. Now for for long amount of time you have subjected it and now you have released, so it will not regain its shape because of elastic fatigue. Okay, now after gradually slowly after long time this shape will be regained. Okay, so in such cases you can say the material has actually achieved elastic fatigue. Okay, so logically it should regain shape, but because of elastic fatigue also sometimes certain materials within the elastic limits itself it will not regain the shape. Okay, so this is the common terminology that I am introducing. Okay, now with this you must have understood, okay, basic terminology. Okay, now so far what we have discussed is your materials are perfectly elastic material and perfectly plastic material. Two types are there. Perfectly elastic materials, they will regain shape. Whatever stress strain is there, it doesn't matter, they will regain their shape. But plastic materials, they don't regain their shape at all. Okay, and for general elastic materials, any other material you take, below this elastic limit it will regain shape. Beyond this elastic limit they will not regain the shape. Okay, and if you are crossing this elastic limit, it is the body has achieved permanent set or it is overstrained. And below the elastic limit also, if you are not regaining the shape, it is called elastic fatigue. Okay, right? So with this you must have understood what is your basic idea of this elasticity. Okay, now we will start the core part. Okay, we are going to discuss problems. Now, what did I discuss is not much related to problems, but only the logic part of it is for understanding sake. Now, problems will start coming from here. What is your strain and what is your stress is what you are supposed to know, and this is from where problems will come. In this chapter, we will use the word stress, strain and energy. That's all. These three terms, and out of these two ratios we are going to get elasticity. Okay, modulus of elasticity. This will define entire civil engineering, your properties of materials. Okay, now your strain and stress we will discuss in detail. Okay, now what is your strain? I will tell you. Okay, strain is, okay, change in quantity divided by original quantity. Okay, this is mathematically, but logical aspect of it I will tell you. Now, commonly we will use the words. For example, your eyes get strained when you are watching your mobile phone too much, or your eyes will get strained when you are watching your computer. That strain is actually what? Or if you are driving in the night, you say your eyes get strained because of the highly focused halogen lamps light that we are getting into our eyes. Normally we are actually allowed to use some 35 by 40 watt bulbs, but in our vehicles we will use 60 by 70, 90 by 100, 100 by 110, and such powerful bulbs we are going to use for headlights of our vehicles. Okay, so why is that? Why are we using such kind of powerful bulbs for the vehicles? And we should not use it, but we get strained when we are using such kind of bulbs. Now, what is strain in that case is, and what is stress in that such kind of situations is what we are supposed to know. We will not use stress and strain simultaneously. Strain is different, stress is different. Okay, we get strained because of traveling also, we will say. And why is that strain? I will tell you. Strain is, we have some regular habit. Okay, driving the vehicle is a regular habit. Okay, but suddenly if you drive for 10 hours, okay, usually we are habituated to, let us say we are driving only 1 hour per day, and let us say you are driving 10 hours in a single day. So you get strained, you will not get stressed in that case. Okay, so you have a regular habit, but you are deviating, you are doing the same thing, but you are doing it for longer time. In such a case you will get strained. Okay, so strain is change in quantity by original quantity. Strain is different, stress is different. Okay, stress is, okay, it depends, but for now I will tell you what is your stress is. Your stress is restoring force by area is what you are writing according to your definition. Okay, your mathematical definition is this, but in this mathematical definition, when to use stress and when to use strain is, you will have stress. Okay, you will feel stress. You will, when you have headache, you do not say you are stressed. Okay, you will actually feel stress when you want to do something and when you are not allowed to do something. Okay, stress is different. Okay, you will feel stress when you are, okay, you will get only strained by studying little long amount of time. Every day you are studying for 3 hours, and if you are studying for another extra little amount of time, for example, if you are studying 1 hour extra, maybe you will get strained, that's all. But stress you will feel, okay, when you are actually failing to do something. You are usually habituated to getting, for example, 30 marks or 40 marks out of 100, for example, or average, let us say you are getting 60-70 consistently. Now suddenly you have started coming, you are getting 0 marks. In such a case, you will feel the stress. Stress is something that is completely different. Strain is something completely different. Strain, you are habituated to do something and you are doing the same thing for little amount of time, that's all. But stress you will feel when something unexpected or something new comes out suddenly. Okay, that is English part. Okay, right? So when you want to study and when your parents are allowing you to study, obviously you will not feel stress. You will feel stress when you don't want to study and your parents are pushing you to study. So stress is different, strain is different. That is in terms of English. Exactly in a similar way, okay, in those lines we are actually using the word, but in physics our strain is, okay, change in length by original length. Initially length is there, but slight change is there. But stress, you have that on that system there is nothing initially. Okay, internally there is nothing developed, okay, but suddenly there is some force by area developed on the body because of external agent doing something. Okay, this I will discuss in detail, but first we will talk of only the strain. Okay, in strain, okay, in strain there are different types of strains, but we will talk of first longitudinal strain is first term. Your longitudinal strain is change in length by original length is longitudinal strain. Okay, and similarly, okay, your volume strain is your change in volume by original volume. Okay, it is also called as bulk strain. Okay, your strain is change in length by original length if you are taking a wire and if you are applying some force and compressing it, or if you are applying some force and elongating like this. In this case, your longitudinal strain, that means your length is changing here. In this case, it is change in length by original length. Similarly, you will have your volume strain if you are taking some molecule and if you are compressing it. Okay, because of compression, let us say finally it has come to this point. This shaded portion is your change in volume. So this is your change in volume by original volume. This is your bulk strain. Okay, and there is one more term, okay, that is called as shear strain. Your shear strain is, let us say you have a cardboard or some box like this. Now you are supplying some force or you are applying some force on the top like this. Now because of application of the force, let us say it is bending like this. If it bends like this, if this length is delta x, if this length is L, if this angle is phi, tan phi is your delta x by L. This is your shear strain. Your shear strain is this small angle. If theta is very small, we will represent phi is equal to delta x by L. Okay. So totally what did I do? Strain is, your general definition is change in length by original length. That strain is of three types which we are commonly using. One is longitudinal strain, which is change in length by original length. Second type is volume strain, which is change in volume by original volume. And third type is shear strain, which is tan phi is equal to delta x by L. This is when you are applying force tangential to the surfaces. Okay, so it is kind of related to shape. Okay, and this is kind of bulk strain or volume strain is related to volume. Okay, so like this we are going to have three strains which we are going to commonly use in physics. Okay, now this is regarding your strain. Now the important part, okay, we are going to see next is stress. Okay, we have seen strain, now we will see stress. Okay, now you will have your stress. Okay, your stress is, okay, stress is restoring force by area. what is this restoring force? What is this area? I will tell you. Your force unit is Newton, area unit is meter square. Okay. Now stress is defined like this. Stress is restoring force by area and its unit is Newton per meter square. Now stress is different from pressure. How is that? I will tell you. Stress is a tensor quantity and pressure is a scalar quantity. Stress is different, pressure is different. Now stress, we will see, this is your restoring force. I told you, no. What is this restoring force? You concentrate here. Let us say you have a spring like this. Now in this case, what is your stress means? Your stress is 0 provided if it is at its natural length. Okay, your body's natural length is L0. Okay, your body's natural length is L0, so your stress is 0. Now let us say you have elongated it. Okay, that means you are applying some other external force on this side. Now many people will think what is your stress means, they will just simply write it as force by area. Okay, now as long as this end is free, your stress here is 0. Why it is the case, I will tell you. Now you applied force on this spring. When you are applying this force on this spring, it is moving. There will be no elongation. There will be elongation. I told you this restoring force is internally developed force. Your restoring force develops internally. Internally developed force is your restoring force. So in this case there will be no elongation. Okay, even though if elongation is there, okay, it will be L0 plus very small. Okay, negligible elongation is there. Okay, if you just simply take a spring and if you are just pulling it out, why will there be a stress? Internally nothing will happen. Like for example, if you take me itself, my body, when I am just keeping my hands like this, there is no stress. But when somebody is pulling me, if they are pulling me only on one side, he wants to pull me, he is pulling, I will move. So there is no stress. Why will there be a stress? But if you take the situation wherein which you are applying force on both sides, then there will be stress. And that stress is equal to force by area. In this case there is stress. Why? Because from the natural length your system will extend, so your restoring force will develop inside, and this restoring force, okay, restoring force by area is my stress. Okay, getting my point? Your stress is not the applied force. Here I have applied F, so I should not write applied force. Say for example if it is 10, okay, I should not write 10 by area. Actually to balance this 10, internally restoring force of another 10 will develop later. This 10 and that 10 will cancel off. Okay, you can write 10 by A, but it is this internal part, pink color part, not the applied part. Okay, getting my point? For understanding more and understanding better, okay, for example, to the same situation, if I am applying force of 20 Newton this side and if I am applying some 12 Newton here, okay, so another, this is F1 and this is F2. In this case, what is your stress means? I will write, what should I write? Should I write 20 by A or 12 by A, or should I write 8 by A? In this case, what is your stress means? You have to say 12 by A. Okay, out of this 20 Newton, okay, this is 12 plus 8. This 12 and that 12 will develop restoring force inside the spring. Remaining 8 Newton will cause acceleration. 8 Newton will cause acceleration of spring. Okay, net force will bring acceleration. That is your Newton's second law. Net force is equal to, net external force is equal to mass times acceleration. Here stress is internal force. We are talking of internal force. In this case, out of these two forces that I have applied, 12 is the internally developed force. To compensate this 12, out of this 20, 12 will be causing restoring force, remaining 8 will cause acceleration. Okay, acceleration of a body is because of net force. Okay, our stress is because of internal force. Okay, internal force is different. Internal force is causing that stress. Okay, restoring force is causing this stress. We want our restoring force in our stress expression. That is why I wrote restoring force by area, not the applied force. Okay, now your stress, I hope you got some clarity. Okay, I want you to copy it down and write everything in detail later. Okay, watching the videos, notes is must. Okay, right. Next, coming to your next part. Okay, I'll define your stress. Your stress is defined in lot of ways. One type of stress is normal stress, or also called as longitudinal stress. Okay, in this, okay, first type of stress is normal stress or longitudinal stress. In this, you have, for example, you are applying some force F here and some force F here. Okay, this is called as tensile stress. When length is increasing, you will use the word tensile stress. So your tensile stress is force by area. Okay, and when there is compression, okay, when there is compression like this, we are going to use the word, okay, when there is compression, we are going to use compressive stress is equal to force by area. Okay, right? And this is your normal stress or longitudinal stress. Okay, next, your second type of stress that I want to define is, in different books different terms will be there, but I am using this normal stress or longitudinal. Length is changing means you have to use the word longitudinal stress. Okay, longitudinal word is related to length, and if it is increasing, tensile word, and if it is decreasing, compress. Okay, compression. Okay, next, your second type is, for solids we will define, for the second type, your second type is, okay, when you take a block like this, okay, and if you are subjecting it to some force, what happens is, your force, if you are subjecting onto this, okay, this kind of stress is called shear stress. Shear stress, when your tangential stress, okay, any word you use, no issues. Tangential stress is also going to mean the same. Okay, if you apply your force F and your area is A, in this case, if your angle is phi, your length will change here. In this case, your shear stress or tangential stress is force by area. Okay, next, volume stress. Okay, volume stress or bulk stress, if you are using this word. Okay, then we will do this for liquids. Usually for solids also you can use it. Okay, so in this case, when you are applying force like this, if area is A, when this volume is changing, volume stress is force by area, it is actually delta P. Okay, later. Okay, this part I will explain later. It is change in pressure. Okay, so that is your volume stress. Okay, like this you will have your different stress. So these are the kinds of stress that you have for your materials. Okay, so this is just the basic introduction. We will continue from here in the next class. That's all. Okay, so next what we are going to see is modulus of elasticity. Okay, now this chapter is one of the most easiest chapters, very easy. Read the question carefully, substitute this stress and strain formula, that's all, your answer, you will get it. Okay, so tomorrow's class we will see modulus of elasticity. Okay, right, so that's all for today. Thank you.